Now that you know what counterclaims are and how to identify them, next you will practice writing counterclaims. Remember, the claim is what you are arguing in your paragraph, and the counterclaim is the opposing viewpoint or what your opposition might say in response. Next, we'll explore some tips on how to write an effective counterclaim. The first thing you need to do is identify who would be arguing with you. It can be a general group of people, like some people, or even something as simple as the word many. You could also get more specific by thinking of who would disagree with your point, like saying some teachers, if you're arguing about homework or uniforms. Or you could say opponents of, if you're arguing about an issue like mandatory voting or football in schools. Tip number 2 for writing a counterclaim is to pick a strong verb that means the same thing as says. There are lots of options that essentially mean the same thing, like argues, claims, believe, think. You can even use the verb says. When you put the strong verb together with step 1, it'll sound something like this. Some people believe, or many argue, or some teachers may claim, or opponents of mandatory voting think. Now that you've identified who is arguing with you and added a strong verb, you need to next state what they might say in response to your claim. At a basic level, you just have to say the opposite of what you think. Adding on to the sentences we already started, it would sound something like this. Some people believe Twizzlers are better for you. Or many argue that football shouldn't be in high schools. Some teachers may claim uniforms are good for students. And the last example, opponents of mandatory voting think all citizens must vote. Now that you've named your opposition and stated what their counter-argument would be, you hit them next with this power word, however. It is a signal word that tells the reader you are about to tell them the opposite opinion. Notice I just added the power word, however, to each of our examples. Lastly, for step number 5, you need to state your claim after the word however. Remember, it should be the opposite position of the counterclaim. Your final counterclaim plus claim should look something like this. Some people believe Twizzlers are better for you. However, red vines are healthier. Many argue that football shouldn't be in high schools. However, football is not dangerous for students. Some teachers may claim uniforms are good for students. However, they limit student self-expression. Opponents of mandatory voting think all citizens must vote. However, people should not be punished for not voting. To recap, to write a strong counterclaim, the first step is to identify the opposition. Step 2 is to pick a strong verb. Next, for step 3, you state your opposition's response. In step 4, you add the power word however. And in step 5, finally, you end with your claim.